Ron, we're ready to start.
He's got a small issue. Ron, you're on mute.
We're live. You can start whenever.
Okay, good. This meeting will come to order, please. And tonight is November 15, 2021. It is 7 p.m. This is a meeting, the regular monthly meeting of the City of Prospect City Council of City of Prospect, Kentucky. And the first order of business tonight is seeking approval of the minutes of the last regular meeting, which was October 18th, 2021. Are there any suggestions for additions or corrections to those minutes, please? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, and those minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is my report. Number one, a report that the swap of land, which was previously authorized by this council, has been accomplished. The city now owns 3 acres at the end of Delhaven Road. We simultaneously have transferred the 3 acres where the Timber Ridge Sewer Plant used to be to Joy Leet LLC, which is owned by Deepak Tawari. So that's done. Second, I want to note that LDG has again filed application for rezoning on the property called Prospect Cove. I have placed an enlargement of their intended development on the council dais, where Greg and Sandra and Frank can all see it. It shows that their proposed 175 apartments is on a building which appears to me, using the key on the layout, to be 495 feet long, which is 6 feet shorter than the one they proposed 4 years ago, 501 feet. I understand further that it will be the same height as before, 45 feet high. However, it will be 3 stories instead of the former 4 stories. I assume that this will go through the same process as last time, which is various meetings going on to Metro Planning Commission and then on to Metro Council. So that we've got that in front of us. Meanwhile, they are continuing to pursue the litigation they brought over the 2017 defeat of their last attempt. I intend to ask for an executive session at the end of this meeting in order to discuss with our attorneys that litigation and any potential future litigation. Third, we are continuing to evaluate how we may use ARPA money. Preliminarily, it appears that many expenditures on parks can qualify. As for the grant we previously applied for, Sarah spent about 4 hours on a telephone conference and learned that the decisions about who gets the grants will not be made until about February, and those who are chosen will not even get the grant money until late next year. Sarah, do you want to add anything to that?
No, there were about 30, a little over 30 people who had applied. So just to give some more context, but your timing was spot on what was listed.
All right, thank you. Finally, John Carter.
Sarah, how many will be awarded out of the 30? How many are going to be?
It's actually based on the financial allocation, so it's not necessarily a number. I did write down what every project was asking for as they went down. So some were the full like 500K total, some were for like 50,000. So
Thank you.
yeah, no worries.
I have a question too. Sarah, I guess, are you all zeroing in on what that money can be used for? Is that still sort of nebulous, or have you been able to zero in on what we can spend that money for?
Are you talking about ARPA now, Greg?
Uh-huh.
I can answer. I may not be the best one to answer. I'm happy
Go
to.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, Danielle Story and her team has made, and John Carter, feel free to jump in, has made we've submitted, hey, these are all the things, everything potential we have spent, and we're looking at spending based on the last year's budget and this year's budget, and sent it at the first meeting. There was a preliminary look of nope, yes, maybe, more details. And then from there, we've gone back to ask more questions about, okay, if we don't do this, here's the amplifying data for that. And so there's another meeting, I think it's in about a week, and then that'll really start to have them actually just start the write-ups for particular items that are basically in the, there's nothing new currently that's being put in the write-up that wasn't in already spent money or in the current budget. Does that answer, Greg?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, no worries.
Question. I'd love to see some of those things funded, but I'm very concerned about the record keeping, because when I look at.
I cannot hear you.
I can't either.
How about this?
Excellent.
That's
Thank
great.
you. It turned off. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm very concerned about when I listen to the different people talking about ARPA, the record keeping. Have they talked to you at all about what you'd be required to do?
I'm still happy to answer. I just don't know if I'm, Sandra, I'm not sure who you're asking.
No, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, so they are going to produce all of the record keeping, and then the pieces that the city has to do, they are advising us on. So we would need to take up specific budget resolutions and things that the council says yes for those particular funds. So there are some legal documentation that we have to do on our side, and they're advising, hey, this is what you have to do. And then they're going to actually do all of the paperwork. And they've already asked us, hey, send us the receipts of this. Hey, we need more data on this.
I wasn't so much worried about that as things like showing the affected areas, the population that's concerned. I appreciate the paperwork being a burden, but we have it. On the other hand, when they start talking about affected census tracts and everything else, I mean, that isn't in our ballpark.
Yeah, there's a, her name's, I think, Jenna Graham. She seems to be their, at least our team expert. She seems to be the resident expert on gathering all of the public available data and the data that they keep at KIPTA, and then locally for, we're not in a qualified census tract. I don't think any region near us in Kentucky is, but they keep all the data that tracks like senior citizens, persons with disabilities. So they call it, it's a larger category, something along the lines of mobility, something. John Carter, jump in if you remember the name of what they called it. Ambulatory issues, that's what it was. They have all of that. Is that, Sandra, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
All
it
of that
is.
breakdown?
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
And I might add that both of those questions really show the wisdom of having KIPTA and the contract that we have with them. Not only do they provide the information and keep us from reinventing the wheel 100 times, but they insulate us from any mistakes that we may make. So it's really, KIPTA is our backbone in making sure we don't make a mistake.
All right, fine. The last thing I wanted to mention is that John Carter and I have arranged to have a meeting with Sandra and Greg, I believe it's on Thursday, to learn how we may help with their investigation of employee benefits in the context of that part of the new personnel policy plan. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that's going to happen. With that, any other questions? And if none, we'll move into tonight's agenda. And the next thing on the agenda is Committee reports, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. If someone here to give that report tonight.
Unfortunately, Linda wasn't able to be here. Her write-up is pretty thorough of everything. I think public wise to mention, there's the trail bash. I'm not sure if Ron wants to mention anything about that, but it's hosted in Harrods Creek Park, and then some of the funds are donated to the parks for that. That's Sunday, November 21st. If any public wants to volunteer for that, contact the city and they can give you all of that info. I think everything else dealt with kind of ICF and some future small things for the parks.
Thanks, Sarah. Moving on, we have the Deforestation Board report. Lee?
Yes, I'm here. I'd like to start out by saying that this month is the 14th anniversary of the first reading of the ordinance that created the Deforestation Board and the current program. And the ordinance was actually had a second reading and passed in December 2007. We operated in 2008 as a Deforestation Board and applied for Tree City certification at the end of this year, which was awarded in 2009. And I'd like to say in the first year, just for background information, many people participated in the work that was done. We had considerable help from Peter Barber, who was the urban forester for the state of Kentucky at that time. Now it's Bridget Abernathy, who happened to grow up in Fox Harbor and knows the area quite well. But one of the things that was done at the time, and I think it took about 30 people who were trained and then went out and surveyed every street and median tree in the city, with something like 1,500 trees. And not only the tree, the species, the condition, et cetera, and that provided a tremendous basis for work. And that data is still available. Getting into the current operation, of course, we had our Arborfest on Saturday, October 30. It was supposed to start at 9. People start showing up at around 8:30. There was a lot of enthusiasm still for getting these flowering trees. We pretty much shifted from giving away the large growing trees to the smaller flowering trees that people seem to like. And about 45 of them were distributed. And we're even thinking of next year having a 2-day event, probably Friday, Saturday, somehow, so more people can have an opportunity to pick up trees. The report covered the hazardous tree remediations. 5 owners have been sent notices now, and another condo property manager has agreed to remove 2 dangerous trees without a formal notice. And there's still work going on at the entrance to Hunting Creek Drive. There's a grassy area on the left as you're going on the exit side, and that has some black locusts, which were determined to be city responsibility. They're seriously declining. Some have dying limbs. They'll be taken out. And then new plantings are going to happen around Thanksgiving, exact date to be determined. My report says 17 trees. Actually, will be 18 trees. And a lot of these are going into Bridgepoint. I think 11 or 12 going into Bridgepoint. And then 3 of these trees are being financed actually by private donors, paying $300 each for memorial trees or commemorative trees. And these include an oak, an elm, and a redbud. Reporting on the Canopy tree program, we had 2 people who were seriously interested in the Canopy tree program, but their lots proved unsuitable. One was extremely small, and then it was full of gas and electric lines. So we just had to say, no, that won't work. We're going to have a spring program, and Actually, Herb Schulhofer is working on requesting a legal guidance as to how we might broaden the areas that residents can plant in. So that'll be coming down the line. And then in December, we'll be working on applying for the next tree city certification. Any questions?
Any questions for her, for Lee? All right, I guess not. Lee, thank you very much.
Okay.
The next report on the agenda is the U.S. safety study, U.S. 42 safety study. And all of a sudden there's Herb Schulhofer. Herb, are you giving that report?
Yes, sir. I've been told sometimes my Wi-Fi is unstable if I keep my video. So if it is unstable, I'll turn the video off.
All right.
But otherwise, we're in what's called the existing condition phase. QK4, our consultant, has received the crash data, the existing crash data from KYTC, and last week there was a team from the city, was Greg and the mayor and Ron, and then QK4's team, and then KYTC's team. If you were riding down US 42, you might have seen a lot of guys that look like they better be careful in their orange vest, yellow vest. So, but that was to, that's called the safety audit, which is a part of the existing condition. And each person was given a map of, there's a series of 6 maps, which really is the whole site. The site was broken down in 6 areas, so it was able to actually handle a map. And each participant was to write down their opinions of the existing aspects that may be detrimental. And of course, we're a little bit more knowledgeable about situations than some people, and put down what we thought would be good safety improvements. So, and these maps were all turned over to QK4. So that's what they're working on. And I know a part of this phase is where they do the cameras on and it's going to be 3 different intersections. And I don't know, but Sarah made a comment. She thought that the cameras had been installed. Sarah, is that?
Yeah, they've been up and since taken down, and then came up across Sutherland and Innisbrook and Hunting Creek, and have since come back down. So I think they were only up for 1 week at a time, each of those.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a important part of their existing condition. They're also there could be, you might be seeing drones over 42 and wonder what's going on, but that's also part of it. So this is, they plan to complete the existing conditions in November. And then what's called a LO/S meeting. That's LO is all you people, the local officials, and the S is for stakeholders. So it could be just people very, very interested, business people and community people that are going to have a meeting to sort of review what they've got on the existing conditions. And that's to be done. You will receive invitations in December. The date has not been exactly established, determined at this time, but you will be given this invite, and hope all can attend. As you probably can tell, this is a pretty short timetable to do this study, and July is the completion date. So we're happy that it's off and rolling. It took a long time to get this point, but we knew once you get to this point, if you're successful like we've been, it's going to take off, and we're doing it. So, could I answer any questions?
Any questions for Herb? Guess not. Thank you very much, Herb.
You're welcome.
the library update, Sandra?
As I told you last month, this has been our most successful library sale ever, and now it's even more successful than it was in October. We're selling books. We've had thousands sold, but we have now reduced our prices, and the hardcover books are $1. Paperbacks are a quarter or 10 for $1, and the sale will be up until the end of November. We also are beginning to talk about our next sale, and tentatively it will be in May.
All right, thank you very much. By the way, I owe you $1.
Well, thank you very much.
There was a hardcover book up there, and I wanted to be
Cancel
sure that I got it, so I took it. And now I feel guilty about it, so I got to give you $1.
Well, thank you.
will.
We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Is there a policeman in the audience or in the group that can give a police report?
There's never a policeman around when you need one, but I'll
I
try.
know it.
Okay, we're pretty slow, which is a good thing, I guess. The house checks were down a little bit this October compared to last October, within about 100. However, for the year, we'll probably end up breaking the record for house checks. We'll probably reach the 30,000 figure for the year. And I think previously the high was around 28,000. So we will do more house checks this year than we've ever done before, which is a good thing. People are utilizing the service and we're happy to provide it. Let's see, with regard to the reports, on the call response reports, those are, I've explained it before, those are just informal reports. They're not necessarily crime reports, but they're just of significance of enough for us to keep it. On there, you'll notice that there was a few neighbor disputes and then a harassment report. They're all related. It involves the same two neighbors. It's one neighbor that we've had issues with in the 10 years I've been here. They don't seem to get along with hardly anybody. And then they got a new neighbor that moved in about 3 months ago and they don't get along with the new one. So
Which area? Just general area?
the estate section of Hunting Creek.
States.
And so we've tried to get that resolved a little bit. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of childishness on the part of both parties, I believe. So we've tried to resolve that a little bit. And it has calmed down in the last month. So that's a good thing. There was one that was reported as a road rage down at the tunnel. I believe that is unfounded from the way that it was initially reported. There was a FedEx driver that claims that he thought he heard a gunshot. So anyway, the officers get up there. There's no damage or whatever whatsoever to his truck. And we actually had him pull the video from Trimark. We couldn't find anything from it. The officer goes back the next day. And what we believe actually occurred was there was a metal grate that's in the tunnel, and the truck passing over a grate actually makes a slamming noise, and it does resemble a shot. So we think that that's what that occurred. So there was nothing to that, we believe. Let's see, with regard to the one felony report that's on there, that was a little bit unusual. It's listed as a burglary, but what occurred was over in the breakers in the older house that's there that was just being refurbished. There was a party that went on. Some kids came in on a weekend and threw a party and did some damage. But fortunately for us, they're not very bright because they always videotape themselves and put themselves on Instagram or whatever. So there's video of themselves causing considerable damage to the inside of this house. So we've actually identified a couple of people. There's been some restitution made already, but yeah, that was a little bit unusual, and it was pretty significant damage to this house.
Was the house abandoned at the time?
Just they-
Yes, there's nobody living in the house and they had been doing some renovations to it. And so it was empty. And actually, there was a good likelihood that the people that had been working at the new house that's over there, the show house,
Right.
knew that this house was empty and things like that. So I think some of the kids that had been volunteering to work at that house took advantage of the situation, so to speak. Let's see, there's a couple of these reports in here that are all interrelated. We had a domestic violence incident, mother-daughter. The mother, who, for lack of a better term, is a mental patient, actually stabbed the daughter, very, very, very minor injury. However, she was taken involuntarily to the hospital to get additional mental help. She's been in mental institutions before. And anyway, we took her back. She had made threats to herself that day. And then the following day, we dealt with another domestic case. This was daughter against adult daughter against mother and father. She was intoxicated. She was problematic. And she assaulted mom. And anyway, she was arrested. And a lot of these reports are interrelated only because we're required to file them that way. As a domestic violence, which is considered a JC3 report, we're required by the state. And then if there's an injury, we have to file an assault report. So it looks like we've got a lot more going on here than what we do. There was 2 incidents on successive days, but there's a bushel basket full of reports related to those 2 incidents. So it looks like there's a lot more that went on, but it was 2 days worth of 2 incidents.
Do we send a single officer in those cases, or are we fortunate enough to have 2 people?
Actually, ironically, the first day, the girl with the stabbing, there was 3 of us there. And then it happened at noon. And then the next day, there was 3 of us again at the other one. But we always send 2.
Yeah.
We always send 2. But we were lucky on the other ones. We had that many people there. I think that's it. We did have one death that occurred. It's reported in the others that a female was down. When they got over there, they had to force entry to the house. EMS did CPR, took her to the hospital. She was in ICU, but died shortly thereafter. But it's a natural causes death. So that's all. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Jeff, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Moving along, next item says unfinished business, but it doesn't have anything under it. Does anyone have any? Not, we'll go into new business, and we do have one item there, and that is my nomination of John Clark. Many of you know John, to serve a term on the Prospect Code Enforcement Board, and there's a municipal order number 5-2021 that I would request that anyone so inclined, please move for the adoption of that municipal order. And then after that, if there's any discussion to be had, we'll have it. Anyone?
I'll move
So
for
go
the
ahead and-
adoption of the municipal order.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of this?
No, just that this is a continuation. He has been on the board. He was first nominated, I believe it was November 14th of last year, to a 1-year term. And so he is not new to the board.
Right, that's all entirely correct. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll come to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Passes unanimously, and that municipal order has been adopted. The next item on the agenda is comments from citizens. Are there any?
No. Nobody
All
here.
right.
Nobody signed up.
The last item And I see that Grover has joined the meeting. Hello, Grover.
Hi, John.
I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing current and possible future litigation. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
When we return from executive session, after that, we will simply adjourn. We will take no action during executive session. So the motion having passed, we are now in executive session. Ron, are you there?
Yes, sir. Hold on. Give me just about a few seconds here. Okay, the